Well, on the subject of evolution, first say that the Theosophical view of evolution is far broader and more encompassing than Darwin's theory of evolution. Now, when questions are asked by new inquirers regarding evolution, they're normally framed in the context of Darwinian evolution, which is something that we're all familiar with. I've certainly been familiar with since I was at junior school. And yes, Darwin's theory of evolution has its place in the overall equation of evolution as far as Theosophy sees it, but only a very small part. In fact, Darwin really, when it comes to human evolution, saw humanity as an animal burdened by intelligence, and there was no spiritual dimension to his theory in that respect. Now, evolution to a theosophist isn't just evolution of humanity, evolution of animals or plants. Everything in the universe is evolving down to a single atom, and even the mineral kingdom is evolving, and Theosophy postulates below that there are three elemental kingdoms. They are evolving, and above humanity, and we postulate levels of higher beings down show hands, that they are also evolving, and that in effect the universe itself is evolving. So there's quite a broad spectrum of evolution there, much broader than Darwin's. Now, looking at human evolution, which is mainly what Theosophy primarily concerns itself with in cosmogenesis and anthropogenesis in the secret doctrine, the coming into being of the universe and the coming into being of mankind. So the evolution of humanity is a primary concern in Theosophy. The real driving force behind human evolution is the need to develop more effective lower vehicles for the development of, for the expression of mental and spiritual powers. Now, so when we say lower bodies, lower vehicles, I mean the physical body, our emotions, our mind, all of which are renewed in our next incarnation. Our higher principles remains the same and continue from life to life. But in order to gain experience, we have to deal with the physical world. And Theosophy uses a term, involution, which I don't think I've actually heard this term outside Theosophy, but it's in the dictionary. And from the point of view of human evolution, or of all evolution, involution is the becoming involved in matter. So we involute into matter and we gain experience. So you can't have evolution, as far as Theosophy is concerned, without involution. So we involute into matter, and we do this repeatedly through our evolution, through many cosmic eras. And that's what we talk about unfoldment, that many of the powers and faculties and that are come about in humanity have actually, we've been through it before, and we're renewing them, we're coming round again, but we're at a different stage of our evolution, and we do it at a higher level each time round. Now, I'm going to mention the idea of rounds, globes and races, which is quite a complex subject. We evolve through planetary eras, what we call planetary Manvantaras, which is a full evolutionary cycle of the planet and humanity and everything in it. The evolution of humanity is inseparable from that of the planet, from that of the Earth. So whatever the Earth is going through, we're going through it as well. We're going through it at the same time, and there's no separation there from us and the Earth. We are part of the Earth and we evolve with it. Now, the planetary Manvantara, and there are 7 planetary Manvantaras to a solar Manvantara, and these are absolutely phenomenal periods of time. So the Sun is evolving, the Sun goes through this as well. That consists of 7 phases known as rounds. Now, a round is the process of going through a series of smaller cosmic eras. So a round is a long cosmic era. Smaller cosmic era is known as globes. And I'll start with rounds. In a round, you have 7 cosmic eras known as a globe. And you start with at the top, well, it goes down and comes back up again. It goes into an involuting arc into matter. So as you go down the globes 1, 2, 3, and then 4 is the most material on that plane of nature, and then it comes back up again to the ascending spiritual arc. Now each of those rounds goes down into more dense planes of nature, to the 4th round, which is the most material, and then rises out. The 5th, 6th and 7th rounds are rising out back to spirituality. So that's an overall journey of cosmic eras through the planetary Manvantara. But within the rounds you have periods known as globes, and there are 7 globes to each round, and again it follows the involuting down into matter and then rising back up again to spirituality. And we are on the 4th round, which is the most dense plane of nature, and we're on the 4th globe, or the globe D it's called in Theosophical literature. So we're actually on the most material globe, and we've just passed the most material point on the most material globe, so we're actually on the up now. So it's uphill from now on, but don't hold your breath. Now within a globe, cosmic era known as a globe, although you could regard them as actually the physical globes to the people standing on them. We're standing on the Earth, and it is a physical globe. We can't see the other globes because they're on a different plane of nature. Anyway, we're within the globe period. There are 7 mass reincarnations of humanity, and some of the early with the fifth of 7. So there are 2 more to come. Now the reincarnations of humanity also follow this involution into matter and back up to spirituality pattern as well. Now there's some good news on this one. We're the 5th, so the 4th was the most material. We're actually on the way up now, although it's hard to believe sometimes. The very early reincarnations of humanity were not, strictly speaking, physical, and the next 2 will be less physical, as we know, will not be as physical as we are. So there's 2 more reincarnations of humanity to come. These are long periods of time, not next week. But that covers quite a wide sphere of, quite a wide range when talking evolution, much wider than Darwin's theory of evolution, which is what most people mean by evolution. Now, this is what else I can say on that. There is something that has come up within this question of evolution and Darwin. Some people have pointed out, and there is some evidence for this, that there are a number of what we call failed humanoid species, and there's some evidence for this, and this has been promoted as proof of Darwin's theory of evolution. And there was a documentary I saw actually said there were 250, or the evidence, fossil evidence for 250 humanoid species that had died out. Now, I would say, we go back with that possibly, Darwin's theory was based on adaptation and natural selection, and yes, that has a part to play, that we have changed. We have to deal with the world and we have evolved physically, but the real driving force behind evolution, as I said before, is to develop more effective law vehicles for the expression of mental and spiritual powers. Now, it may be that on the way to where we are now in the current root race, this is not the previous root race, was the Atlantean, which has gone and was much more physical. But in the evolution of the root race, then there were a number of what you might call drop-downs that were sort of like failed models, that they did not fulfill the requirement as far as the driving force for evolution was concerned. Not that they didn't adapt. And we've come round to just one type of humanity. The last two to go were, I think, Homo erectus went about 70,000 years ago, and they say Neanderthal man possibly up to about 25,000 years ago, but there have been so many others that they've come across that are formed humanoid species which are now extinct. But we're down to the one human race, and I think that is significant in that we've come round to the one satisfactory vehicle that our the driving force behind humanity requires for the expression of mental and physical powers. And the others, well, perhaps they weren't fit for purpose. There was something about them. Fortunately, Neanderthal man isn't around. You can't ask him what he thinks about this, but it may be that Neanderthal man wasn't what the driving force behind evolution was requiring. But we got down to the one type of humanity, and I think it's significant that once we did that, down to the one outfit, that then was followed by the rise of civilization. And I think that's where that is evolutionarily significant, that once we got down to what the driving force behind our human evolution was looking for, we then pushed forward, and we now have civilization. And we not only that, we also have a lot of power over our own development, such as eradicating diseases. People are living longer, and that's likely to continue. We've also managed to populate the planet probably with more people than it can support. That is something we've done ourselves through medicine and other things. Industrial development has polluted the planet, and we can do something about all these things, and it's up to us. But we have a lot of say about our future, more so say than a rabbit does. And so I think that's significant, that we actually can determine our own future, even to the extent that we have the capability to wipe ourselves off the planet with nuclear war. We can even do that if we mess it up. And but that's something that we've developed ourselves, possibly opened up something there that's very difficult to handle. And this is something again that humanity does, it the animal kingdom doesn't have, that we open things up. We're really smart. We're smart, and our mind power and our self-awareness separates us well, certainly our self-awareness and our spirituality separates from the animal kingdom, but our intellect has opened things up that we can't handle sometimes. And one example, the philosopher Hendrik van Loon came up with this one after the First World War. He said that the Industrial Revolution pushed humanity 300 years technologically forward to a level which we could no longer handle the technology, and that's why the First World War happened as it did. And certainly looking at the First World War, there was an incident at the beginning where the British and German cavalries met each other, Battle of Mons in September 1914. They met each other inconveniently in a Belgian village, and they drew their swords and gave it a bit of the old Cavaliers and Roundheads, and they clearly turned up for the wrong war. In fact, it's not even funny, cavalry was used against machine guns at the Battle of Mons, and they ran into barbed wire fences, and they clearly, the technology had gone ahead of their ability to understand it, and that's an example. Our mind power it's a good thing, but there is another side to it. But that is part of our evolution, and that I think will continue. That we will invent things and make technical breakthroughs, and we will not realise the significance of those breakthroughs, and that is part of our evolution. But on the animal kingdom, the animal and plant kingdoms, mineral kingdom, the driving force for evolution there is really expression. That the idea of developing spiritual vehicles in the animal and plant kingdom is not really, it's there, it'll be latent, it will be there, and certainly there's intelligence and emotion in the animal kingdom. It's the fact they said it's there in the plant kingdom. Plants enjoy music, and they like being spoken to, so that company. So it's there, but the evolution, the driving force within the plant kingdom at the current phase is at a different level. Also, before I round up on this one, we will evolve beyond the human kingdom. We're on the ladder of life, and each level on the ladder of life, 3 elemental kingdoms, the mineral kingdom, the plant kingdom, or vegetable kingdom, animal kingdom, ourselves, human kingdom, and the 3 what we refer to as Dini-Shohanic kingdoms, the 3 higher levels, higher being above us, are all evolving, and we will eventually evolve beyond our current phase of evolution, beyond the human phase. But these are incredibly long periods of time, and that our main concern, I think, is the here and now, and how we deal with our current situation, how we attempt to evolve spiritually, and also how we make the world better for ourselves. And I have forgot to mention something absolutely vital. Reincarnation, as far as Theosophy is concerned, is an integral part of evolution. I've mentioned it with the root races, but within ourselves, as we are all going through the cycle of death and rebirth, we are all spiritually and to some extent at high mental level, we take the essence of the life lived with us, but we're all learning something, we are all evolving, and reincarnation is an integral part of that evolution.